Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Train Tuesday. I am your host, Jim Wigan, and so glad that you could join us. Now, if you're joining us live on the live feed right now, welcome. If you're catching us later on our YouTube channel, we hope you enjoy the content that you see. Train Tuesday comes every Tuesday, live during the fall and winter months and pre recorded in the summer months. You can guarantee you'll see a new Train Tuesday every Tuesday at 7 o'clock p.m. And if you like the content that you're seeing, please do us a favor, like and subscribe, and do comment. I do try to watch those comments and try to respond to as many of them as I can. And I enjoy talking with my fellow modelers. How are you doing tonight? Now, before we get started, I want to remind everyone that a lot of our friends out on the East Coast and Southern East Coast are going through some very trying times right now. A lot of people have lost everything. I want you to keep those folks in your thoughts and your prayers and your positive vibes, however you choose. And if you do have the possibility to help one another out, please do. There are many resources available to you that you can make your donations to. I'm sure you can find those. And if you're close by, I've already seen in the comments that looks like one of our fans out there has done their part in helping out those folks. So, again, keep them in your thoughts and prayers. I know some of our viewers may have been affected from the hurricane last week and couldn't join us. Fortunately, it sounds like they're doing okay. We're glad to hear that, and hopefully you're able to get back on track soon. Also, keep in mind too, Florida is also getting a hurricane, so there's a lot going on. So try to keep the positive vibes going. Try to keep the thoughts and prayers going for our fellow friends throughout the United States. Now, with that being said, let's see who's joining us during the live here. I see Donnie is here, Ronald is here, DG Model Works is in the house, EMP Railroad, Stephen Flowers is hailing from Mississippi. So glad you could join us. Looks like we got about 70 folks joining us. Mr. Jason Aruda is here. Good to see him. I'm sorry I don't have any Vermont rail stuff visible, but stick around at some point. I probably will. I see Charles is here, and many others have joined as well. So, what are we going to be talking about tonight? Well, we're going to be talking about HO scale as well as N scale. So, N scale guys, stick around. We've got something for you. HO scale guys, we've got something for you. And we're going to be talking about the Athearn line tonight. So, with that, let's do one more round of shout outs and let's get started with another Train Tuesday. I see Terry, Carl from Wisconsin, Todd, Michael is here. Let's see, Russ is also here. Rediker Rail Video and Photography saying hello from Rich Mountain, and many, many more. Thank you for joining us. So let's get started. And we're going to start tonight. This is so appropriate because it is, at least where I'm at right now in central Illinois, it is grain season. Let's talk hoppers, shall we? Now, this is the Athearn HS scale PS 4740 covered hopper that you see on your screen right now. This one is not available. This one's sold out. However, this will give you an idea of what we're offering this month for pre-orders. Now, the Pullman standard, they dominated the cover hopper industry probably back starting in the 1950s. Now, thanks to the design success of their PS2 series of covered hoppers. Now, in 1967, the 4740 cubic foot capacity covered hoppers, like you see here, were the successor to the early 4427s, which we're going to talk about those later in tonight's program as well. Now, Pullman Standard responded to increasing demand for efficiency by the railroads and shippers alike, carrying more per trip than the earlier covered hoppers they had developed earlier. Designed to carry bulk commodities such as grain, these cars roamed the rails of North America for decades, attesting to the utilitarian functionality. This car can still be seen today in service. Getting a little bit more rare, but they are still out there. And we've got some models that we're going to be offering for you for the month of October. You have until Friday, October 25th to place your pre-orders. So let's dive into what we're going to be offering for this month. Now, all the roads that we're going to be talking about tonight, you're going to have the opportunity to add 3 different road numbers per road. So you don't have to worry about duplicating road numbers here. They're all going to be different. I'll read through them real quick just so you know I'm not telling you a story. First up, this is a 2015 era BNSF Railway. Of course, we've said it before, BNSF Railway. They changed from Burlington Northern Santa Fe to BNSF Railway in 2005, and they changed their logo to, as you see here. Now, the one that's pictured on your screen is unit number 431427. We're also going to offer two additional cars, 431434 and 433182. Going back to 1971, we've got the Denver and Rio Grande Western. Again, this is 1971, would definitely work throughout the 70s, a little bit of weathering and some decals. You could definitely put this into the 1980s. I'm sorry, that's Denver Rio Grande Western. I think I said Chicago Northwestern. My apologies. Denver Rio Grande Western. First one that you see on your screen, reporting marks, of course, for Denver and Rio Grande Western is DRGW. The car that you see on your screen is 15411. Additionally, road numbers 15417 and 15490 will also be offered. Going further back, basically when this car was new, 1967 Great Northern. Not only is the car new, but the paint scheme is new too. This was the introduction of the big sky blue that Great Northern had recently unveiled at that time. Reporting marks, of course, are GM, and this is car number 172205. Additionally, car numbers 172388 and 172641 will also be offered. Next, let's jump into the 1980s. A lot of guys have been asking for CSX 1980s. We wanted to go ahead and offer these to you. Here you can see that buff color that was popular with these cars in the 1980s. CSX painted a lot of these this color. Again, this is 1980s era. The car that you see on your screen, reporting marks are CSXT. Of course, the T stands for transportation. And this is car number 249244. Additionally, two other cars will be offered as well, 249247 and 249299. Sticking to the 1980s, we've got the Golden West there in the middle. Now, the reporting marks on this car is actually CRLE, and this is car number 521006. Two other road numbers also available, 521013 and 521027. And then if you're looking for something a little different, something that's got some prime to grime to it, you've got this Milwaukee Road era 2000s. So this is an old soldier that's still keeping its urn in the 2000s era. Reporting marks on this patched Milwaukee Road is CEFX 15091, and two additional road numbers will be offered, 15460 and 15752. If you're wondering why I read out every single number for one of these runs, it's because A, we want to assure you that we have done the research and these are indeed different road numbers. You don't have to worry about duplicates. So you do indeed have 3 cars per road name. You can also check it out at athearn.com. Go to our website, go to the new announcements tab, and pick out the PDF for what we're talking about. Now let's go back to our earlier example and let's talk about the features of these cars. These HO scale cars are really packed with features. Of course, they're going to have body-mounted McHenry operating scale knuckle couplers. They're also going to have 36-inch machined metal wheels. These are going to have the RP25 contours, so you know they're going to work on all brands of HO scale track. These will have roller-bearing trucks, and of course, they're weighted for optimum performance. Now, for those who have small layouts, take heart. This will work on a minimum radius of 18 inches. So if you've got an 18-inch radius or larger, you've got no worries about adding these to your layout. So there you have it. There's our first hopper for the evening. Let's switch gears and let's go to N scale. Now, if you've got a question, hang out and ask those questions at the end of the presentation. I'll be more than happy to answer as many as I can. I can't always promise I'm going to get every single question because depending on how many of you are out there and how many questions you're asking, there's a lot going on, but we'll do our best. So we're going to go to N scale next. N scale, guys, sharp-eyed N scalers will probably notice I've got some of these on the layout behind me. I've got a whole string of these in Burlington Northern. That is from a release, couple of releases ago. They're hard to find now. I was fortunate enough to pick these up a number of years ago, but I can tell you that they will also work on code 40 track, which this layout does have. But let's talk about this car. Let's talk a little bit about the history of this car. And let's talk about what we're going to be offering for the month of October. And by the way, N-Scale guys, your roads are completely different than what we're offering in HO. So the 4427 came about in 1964, the same year the Beatles landed onto the United States and started the Beetle craze. Well, Pullman Standard started the covered hopper craze. The 4427 cubic foot capacity covered hoppers were popular right away. This was a response to the increasing demand for efficiency by railroads and shippers alike, and carrying the ability to carry more per trip than the 40-foot boxcars that they had replaced not that long earlier. Remember, in the old days, before covered hoppers, there were 40-foot boxcars. In fact, you can find some really interesting pictures online, as well as some books on grain elevators of how the railroads would handle that. And they basically have specially made doors on the side of the 40-foot boxcars, and they would fill them up that way. And it was really a tedious, long process. Pullman Standard comes along and makes the covered hopper that you see here. And now your efficiency goes up as well as your capacity. Now, these are designed to carry bulk commodities such as grain, and these cars have roamed the rails of North America for decades, attesting to their utilitarian functionality. You can still see these around. They are getting increasingly rare because a lot of them, their time has run up. You might occasionally see one being used as a buffer car, but if you're doing modern stuff, you're going to have a hard time finding these. However, if you're modeling the 60s through the 1980s, we've got some roads and errors for you coming up. Now, the one that you see on your screen here, this is a Pullman Standard 4427. This is a Milwaukee road. Its road number is 97602. I got good news on scale, guys. These are in stock at your dealer right now. So if you like this Milwaukee road, and who doesn't, you're going to want to pick this up. Now, for the part number for this particular car, it is ATH 27410. Again, that's ATH 27410. These are available at Athearn.com as well as your dealer. So contact your dealer if you need to add a few of these. It is grain season for most of us in the United States and Canada, so stock up now. Now let's talk about what we're going to be offering for this run in October. All right. So remember me saying there are a few in the modern day. 2015, yeah, it's almost 10 years ago, but it's still considered somewhat modern day. You can probably use these as buffer cars if you like, but we're offering Union Pacific as it appeared in 2015, 3 different road numbers. The road number you see on your screen right now is 81277. We'll also offer car numbers 81293 and 81382. Now we get to talk about Chicago Northwestern. This is 1985. These have been popular in the past. We've released this paint scheme before, and they've always been popular. Again, 1985 Chicago Northwestern. Reporting marks, of course, are CNW. The car that you see on your screen right now is 170500. The other 2 road numbers that we're going to offer are 170596 and 170671. And then going back even earlier than the 80s, we're going to 1971 with this Missouri, Kansas, and Texas car. MKT 9603 is on your screen there. We're also going to offer car numbers 9727 and 9790. We're not done with the 70s though. Right at the top, you can see we've got Missouri Pacific. This again is a 1970s car. Missouri Pacific's reporting marks, of course, are MP, and this car number is 712033. We'll also offer car numbers 712056 and 712152. Going into the 1980s, we've got International Minerals and Chemical Corporation. This is a cool looking car. Again, 1980s. Their reporting marks for this car is IMCX. The number is 11297. Additionally, two other road numbers are going to be offered for this car, 11312 and 11327. And then finally, going way back, almost when this car was new, 1966, Louis Dreyfus Corporation, offering three different road numbers for this colorful car. TLDX are the reporting marks. 6077 is the car pictured. Additionally, we'll offer car numbers 6083 and 6955. Let's go back to our earlier example and let's talk about the details on these. Now, just because they're N scale doesn't mean they are short on detail. There's actually quite a bit of detail on here. Now, the first thing that I really enjoy about the ones that you see behind me, plus the ones that you can pre-order, are the body-mounted McHenry knuckle spring couplers. They're already installed. Now, I understand not everybody is a big fan of McHenry couplers. You can convert them if you like. For the most part, most of mine are pretty much stock out of the box other than weathering. But the nice thing about that is they're body mounted. So a small switching layout like this behind me, I don't have the problems of the trucks jumping at turnout points and things of that nature. The other thing I like about these cars is they have a screw mounted trucks. This is great for accurate tracking. Now, some manufacturers just have a simple plastic pin. Some of us like to weight our cars to NMRA standards, or in my case, even heavier. And we can use those screws to kind of help the car track. One truck rather, I like to have a nice pivot point. Well, the other one's got a little bit of a bevel, a way for that car to navigate sometimes not the best track if you're running in T-track, N-track, Fremo, what have you. These are going to have roller bearing trucks, and they're also going to have the 36-inch machine metal wheels with the RP25 contours. Now, I can tell you, and you can see it for yourself, it's kind of far behind for you, but these will work on code 80 rail, they'll run on code 55 rail, and they will run on code 40 rail without any issues. They've got nice profile wheels. These are weighted for optimum performance. However, you might want to weigh them to NMRA standards or to your own standards, depending on how you weigh your cars. They are packed in a jewel box for great display and storage. You can't see it, but under my layout, all of mine are kept in the original jewel case with the label facing up, so I know for each operating session what cars are what. I can get them out of there, and of course keeps them away from pesky dust. The other thing about these, you'll notice in this picture, they have razor sharp painting and printing, something that's really hard to do in N scale. You see the reporting numbers and marks on the ends. You can see all of the FRA mandated markings on these cars, very sharp. And of course, they're fully assembled. Other than weathering them, maybe doing some other modifications to your liking, these are ready to go. Now, the minimum radius on these is 9 3/4, which is pretty much a standard minimum in N scale. So it doesn't matter if you have a very small layout, maybe you've got a 2 foot by 3 foot layout. Maybe you model with T-track. Doesn't matter, these will work just fine because they have a minimum radius of 9 3/4. So there you have it, N scale guys. We haven't forgotten you. Finally, we're going to end, of course, with the Caboose. That makes sense, right? Well, for a lot of us, the Caboose is just a natural thing to put on the end of our train. Now, Cabooses, of course, for years were used as everything from an office to a way to monitor the train, dragging equipment, freight car failures, things of that nature could be seen from the Caboose. As time went on, we had that Caboose replaced with a little guy named Fred, and he would basically tell the train what's going on as far as braking and dragging equipment, things of that nature. It's a communication device. It's pretty much taken care of the Caboose. However, that being said, don't think that the Caboose is not used anymore. In modern day applications, especially in an industrial or switching operation, a shoving platform, as it's called nowadays, is often used to warn at grade crossings and for other safety mechanisms that are in use depending on what is being transported. So, with that being said, the Caboose that you see on your screen here is actually an old roundhouse model now. It's actually still in stock. So if you want the roundhouse version of this, you can go ahead and place your order now for these. Of course, this Rock Island caboose, item number RND 1342. Again, that's RND 1342, and they are in stock right now. Now, these have been upgraded from Roundhouse to Athearn, so they're going to have more detail to them than what they've had in the past. And we'll talk about that in a moment. First, let's talk about what roads we're going to be offering in this run. And in some cases, we're going to have multiple road numbers. So we're going to start with Santa Fe. This is pretty common, 1970s into 1980s. The car that you see on your screen here is 999767. We've also offered another caboose. That's going to be 999772. So we're offering two road numbers for the Santa Fe as it appeared 1970s, 1980s. Going all the way up to 2015, here's one of those shoving platforms that we talked about. This is BNSF Railway in its more modern paint scheme. And this is road number 12408. Now, as you can see here, the cupola still has its glass, the end still has its glass, but for the most part, most of the window areas have been plated over because it's being used for a different function than just a caboose. Now, staying on that theme, but kind of harkening back to a throwback, we have another BNSF caboose being used as a shoving platform. This one's painted in Great Northern. This was something one of the researchers found. It does exist. Now, remember, this is an Athearn model, so this could be a stand-in for something. It's not a Genesis. So there's some liberties that have been taken. But yes, there's something like this really does exist, as it, in this case, 2012. Now, this is car number 888153. So if you want something that's somewhat modern, but a little different or kind of a throwback, this is a great shoving platform to add to your collection. Going into the mid 1970s, we've got this really cool Missouri, Kansas, and Texas bicentennial. This is obviously mid 1970s. Most railroads in the early to mid 1970s, on the anticipation of the 200th birthday of America, hence known as the bicentennial, a lot of these railroads painted their corporate colors and changed them to some type of patriotic theme. And Missouri, Kansas, and Texas was no different. They even painted this caboose in this eye-catching paint scheme. Appropriately enough, this is caboose number 76. Two more to consider. 2020. This is almost brand new. It's only about 4 years old. This is Fracked. Okay. This one, we're only offering one road number for this. Their reporting marks are LBR, and the road number for this is 551980. One that you're probably familiar with, or at least I hope you are, is this mid 1970s Illinois Central Gulf. Now, of course, Illinois Central and the GM&O merged, and they became the Illinois Central Gulf. And for a while, they had this really cool orange paint scheme on both their diesels and their other equipment, including cabooses. We're offering two different road numbers in this eye-catching paint scheme. ICG that you see here is 199047. We're also going to offer 199343. And we're not done. We have two more to talk about tonight. We're going to go to my neck of the woods. We're going to start with Maine Central. Maine Central did indeed have wide vision cabooses that they picked up in the mid 1970s. This is a recreation of those cabooses. Again, this is 1970s. These were used right up through the Guilford era, but the early Guilford era. A lot of these were retired in the early to mid 1980s and sold off to private collectors. Some, I'm afraid, probably did go to other railroads, or worse yet, maybe even scrapped. But I can tell you there's at least one that I know of that's in the central New Hampshire area that's privately owned. What we've got here is Maine Central number 651, and we're also going to offer 652. So there's two different road numbers that you can add to your fleet. Now, if you bought those GP7s that we offered in the Athearn Genesis line last year, we did three road numbers for Maine Central. These cabooses would be a great addition to those models. And then last but not least, we have the SEL family lines. This again, 1970s era. We're going to offer two road numbers for the SEL family lines. The one that you see on your screen here is number 05742. We're also going to offer 05757. Now we're going to use our roundhouse model as an example, but keep in mind this has been updated. So some of the details that I'm going to be reading off you may not see, but they are going to be added to the finished product. These are all going to have fine handrails as well as ladders, clear windows. They will have the correct Caboose style trucks, separately applied smoke jack and brake wheel. These two will have body mounted McHenry operating scale knuckle couplers. These will be weighted, of course, for optimum performance. Once again, if you're going by NMRA standards, go ahead and check against those. You may have to add some just to be on the right weight for NMRA standards. Machine metal wheels, again, with that RP25 contour, you know what that means. It's going to work on all brands of HO scale track. These are going to have a highly detailed injection molded body, and they're painted and printed for realistic decoration. Keep in mind, it is Athearn, so it's not Genesis, so it's not going to be as spot on as a Genesis model, but it's going to have a lot more in common with the actual prototype than, say, a roundhouse model. Now, the minimum radius on these is 15 inches, which is pretty darn tight. I'm sure many of you out there have at least an 18 or a 22-inch radius. You'd have no problem with these. So there you have it. Everything that I've talked about here tonight, you've got until Friday, October 25th to place your pre-orders. So you're going to want to talk to your dealer. If you're lucky enough to have a dealer in your town or close by, you can go on down there, do some shopping for some of the things that are in stock that we talked about tonight, as well as place your pre-orders. If you have an online source that you use, give them a call, shoot them an email, or talk to someone, place those pre-orders. Again, we're getting tighter on our pre-orders, so there's not going to be as much overflow as what we've had in the past. So if there's something you really want, I highly suggest you make that pre-order. So there you have it. Full night of products. I hope you enjoyed that. Let's see if we've got some questions out there, and we'll see if I can answer them. So I'm going to go back a little bit. I'm sure there are some questions and dialogue happening while I was talking. Let's see. Sean saying, Boston and Maine Caboose, please. Currently, we don't have anything that would be a good representation for a Boston and Maine buggy. I say buggy because that's what the employees of the Boston and Maine call their cabooses. Years ago, we had a roundhouse model. You can barely see it in my display case right here. And that was a good representation of an N5C. I painted that one up probably 25, 30 years ago. But currently, we don't have that tooling anymore. That tooling is no longer good. Does that mean we won't do one in the future? No, anything is possible. There are still some other Boston and Maine buggies that we might be able to look into. But unfortunately, right now, we don't have anything that's even a suitable stand-in model. Let's see what else we have. Charles Woods is hoping for L&N, ICG, and SCL cabooses. Well, we got two of the three there for you. So Terry is fact-checking tonight. He wants to remind everybody that Fred provides brake pipe pressure. Some have the ability to make an emergency set. That is correct. They don't detect dragging equipment. There could be some debate on that, because if I know on the Chillicothe line, you'll see some equipment that's on the side of the rails. What that equipment does is it communicates probably nowadays more to the PTCs than the actual Fred. So that will let the crew know of dragging equipment. But we're going to see some more changes in that technology in the next few years, probably, in light of things that are going on. But Terry, thanks for the heads up on that. Yep, Randall is adding too. Freds nowadays are actually smart Freds. They have GPS tracking equipment on them, on top of reading the brake pipe pressure on the train. Yeah, they do a lot. They do a lot of different telemetry and things of that nature. Still, some would probably argue, though, it's kind of hard to replace the caboose. Let's see what else we've got. Rogan likes that 1776 Caboose and the Great Northern car. Yeah, those are great models. Here's a great one. Terry's talking about my old stomping grounds. BNSF in Rochelle, Illinois still uses an old BN hack on the Del Monte job. I remember the Del Monte job. That's good to know. I think Terry, the last I knew, that was a Wide Vision. That was an Evans Caboose too, but I haven't I haven't chased that train in probably 15 years. That's cool to know that because I remember that Caboose. Let's see what else we've got. Randall says the 101 local out of Jonesboro, Arkansas, still uses a Caboose, and it's still in BN green to boot. That's cool. I know locally here, Canadian National or CNIC, they use a former. I've seen both a Canadian National van, as some people call them. I've also seen a former. Actually, it was probably a former GM and O caboose that was acquired during the merger, used in backup moves not too far from me on the old Illinois terminal line, servicing one of the industries not far from where I'm at right now. So you still see them. A lot of caboose stuff tonight. That's kind of cool. BNSF had a CB&Q paint caboose and lacrosse into the early 2000s. That is cool. I did not know that. Let's see what else we've got for questions. Charles, as far as N scale, everything we talked about N scale tonight is going to be those 4427 covered hoppers, just like the ones behind me on the layout. We've got some more N scale to talk about this month, so don't give up. A lot of folks loving the cabooses. Cabooses are popular, you know. Derek, here's a great suggestion. I'm going to put you on the screen. You need to do a car for buffer car service in both HO and N scales. I'm trying to remember. Keep in mind, we do like 200 SKUs every month, so it gets to be a blur after a while. I think we've done them in HO. I don't think we've done them in N scale, but do me a favor. Anytime you've got a great suggestion like that, drop us a line on our product suggestion email, and that's Athearn-product suggestions at athearn.com. Couple of things I do want to talk to you about with that email. First of all, it's not a two-way conversation. Our researchers are busy doing research. If you've got some information and they want to talk to you, they will email you back. But for the most part, that's just a Dropbox for suggestions. So don't think if you don't get an answer within a day or two, we're ignoring you. We do appreciate the support. It's just mainly a Dropbox. The other thing too is just because you put it in the Athearn email doesn't mean we're going to absolutely make that road or that model. We still have to consider a lot of things as far as viability. Is it something that everybody else is going to enjoy? Is it a road name that others have been requesting? Because at the end of the day, even though we are largely modelers here at Athearn, we still have to make a living and we still have to make the right choices. So um, I hope that makes sense for you guys. Rogan wants to know, hopefully there'll be some more unique cabooses in Genesis. Yeah, we're not done with that. I can tell you, we're probably going to take a break from the Genesis cabooses for a little bit, but we still have a lot of other options to go. I mean, this past year we did the Denver Rio Grande, we did the KO and G, we did the Missouri Pacifics. We're going to be doing more, but we're probably going to take a little bit of a break from that for a while. Steven's wanting to discuss pricing on the models. Yeah, Steven, couple of things. You'll notice I don't talk about the pricing on the show anymore. There's a couple of reasons why. If you go to the PDF, it's the actual MSRP. MSRP is manufactured suggested retail pricing. That means that we're going to show you the highest price because we don't want to leave out our dealer network. Now, Stephen, you're probably wondering, okay, why do I go to your Athearn website and see a completely different price than the MSRP? That's because we're owned by Horizon. Horizon has something they call a street price. Now, what that basically means is for some reason you don't have a local hobby shop or you have nobody online that you want to order from, you can order from Athearn.com. Keep in mind though, we are devoted to our dealer network. So the dealers are going to always have a cheaper price than MSRP or the street price that you're going to find at Athearn.com. So that is probably what's caused a little bit of confusion. This is something that Horizon instigated. I think it came up about this past summer. So that's hopefully, Stephen, that answers your question. I think you've asked that before and I've always missed it. So I'm glad to see that I finally got that question for you. Dave, I saw your post last week. I'm glad that you and your family are doing well. I know it's a struggle down there. Keep the faith, and yeah, good to hear from you. Let's see what else we've got, and then I'm going to let you guys get back to it. Let's see. Here's a good question. Scale model apprentice question for me. Training World says that the Genesis HO Scale Modern Challengers are due for the end of this month. Can you confirm this? I can't find a due date on the Athearn site. Yeah, one of the biggest problems that we're still facing from the software integration is the ETAs. Now, again, sign up for our email newsletter. You get a new update every Friday, and I'm trying my best to show you what's coming soon, what's in stock, and when your pre-orders are due. To answer your question, I would have to do some fact finding just to make sure that that is absolutely correct. However, we do have a great sales staff that works with dealers like Train World. It sounds like that's about right, but again, I'll do some fact checking and make sure. I don't know off the top of my head if that's really going to come in at that time. Let's see what else we've got. Yeah, while we're talking about ETAs, let me take your question as well. 21st century third rail, LO Funny CP. Wow, that is a name. Are ETA dates going to be added back on Athearn website? Most items say only pre-order, specifically waiting for the Surfliner cars. Yeah, so there's actually a lot to unpack there, and it's frustrating for me as well as it is for you. So that software integration that Horizon did system-wide on all of the brands that Horizon buys, that did affect the Athearn website. Now, because Athearn is so different from what Horizon typically does, well, think about it. We work on a pre-order setup, whereas everything else that Horizon does, it's pretty much it's in stock, come and buy it, and when they sell out, they sell out. Well, with Athearn, there are no back orders. It's either you pre-order, it comes in, and you pick it up, or you don't. And that has been really difficult for the software to integrate into our system. We had just launched the new website, and the new software came to being about 3 to 4 months after that, and it right away made the ETAs frustrating for everybody involved, including our web team. I did talk to our web team this morning and asked them if they're any further ahead on that. They are making some steps to recovery on that. It may not be noticeable to you. We are working on that. They're slowly getting through that. It's something that's, trust me, it irritates me as much as it irritates you, I'm sure. And meanwhile, keep an eye on our email newsletter. I'm trying to keep that updated so you guys know what's going on. And also on Train Tuesdays like this, also myself, as well as other Athearn employees, we do watch our social media and our comments. And many times, you never know, one of our product developers, they might be on lunch and see your question and they know exactly when that's coming in and they'll let you know. So we're all keeping an eye on that. We're doing our best to keep you informed because if you're like me, you're on a budget, you want to know when this stuff's coming in. We totally get that. Let's see what else we've got. We were talking about dragging equipment. I want to put Kalen up here. He says my dragging equipment defect detectors are transmitted by radio. So there you go. Let's see what else we've got. We'll do a few more questions and then I'm going to let you guys get back to it. Got a pretty good full house tonight. I got about 95 railroaders online and talking. Oh, Terry getting back to me. It's a wide vision of B and paint. Crews can get inside still too. That's awesome. I'll have to get some pictures and send them to Athearn. Dustin's looking for Southern Railway bay window cabooses and Genesis line. Hmm. It's been mentioned. Can't promise you anything, but I think it's been mentioned, but it might be a bit. Anthony wants to know, does the CSX hopper come in 3 different numbers? Yes, it does. Go to athearn.com, go to the new announcements, and pull up the PDF, and you can see those road numbers. So yeah, if you missed that at the beginning of the program, yeah, all the covered hoppers in both HO and N scale are going to come 3 road numbers per road. Terry, thank you for the comment on the light in my background. Yeah, this has been my summer project, working on this room. Just Dirk and his trains. I always appreciate it when manufacturers try to keep the dealers in the loop. Well, basically, the dealers are our lifeblood. Without the dealers, could we survive? Sure. There are some manufacturers that don't have a dealer network. It seems to work for them. Athearn's been around for over 75 years. And we didn't get here because just without our dealers. Our dealers are our lifeblood. Myself and everybody on the Athearn team, we're a relatively small team in the grand picture of the Horizon umbrella. So we're busy. We're flat out busy all the time. Our dealers, 9 times out of 10, you've got a question, you go to your dealer, they're going to have an answer for you. If they don't have an answer for you, they're going to have one for you shortly. So we lean on our dealers for everything from sales to service to information, and we appreciate our dealer network. So whatever we can do to give them information, we try to keep them in the loop as best as possible. Let's see what else here. A lot of good questions tonight. So I haven't signed off yet because you guys have got some really good questions. I appreciate it. Terry wants to know any update on the Norfolk Southern Savannah and Atlanta Heritage SD70 Aces. Not right now. I don't have any updates for you. Check back though, and hopefully I'll have an answer for you. We are, in light of this ETA situation on our website, we are trying to work closely with our factory, and they are working closely with us with information. And I try to put stuff out there just so you guys are aware. All right. Kyle did the right thing. He sent an email to Athearn about hopefully making some B&O and C&O Blue GP38s. Hope to see some. You never know. One of the things that I did today was I got to sit with product development and see what we're going to be working on for 2025, which is pretty much a done deal. And I think you guys are going to be really happy with all the stuff they're working on. Now I just need to leave those guys alone so they can get this stuff done. I have a tendency to bug those guys with my own wish list. Let's see what else we've got. I'm going to do one more question. I'll even do a tough one. Oh, where'd he go? There it is. BN Green 1970. Jim, here's a loaded question on the pricing issue. Why MAP? Why should Athearn or any other manufacturer care what a dealer sells it if you get your wholesale price? It's just a level playing field. That's all. If a dealer has got a Genesis locomotive and he's selling it for a big undercut from say 90% of the other dealers, it's twofold. Our dealer network, Athearn Genesis products are what they call MAP pricing, so it's kind of a protected price. You can't go below a MAP, and the reason why is because you're going to undercut other dealers, and it's not fair. It's one of those things you don't want to strangle the golden goose that's laying the golden egg just for the golden egg. We want to have a level playing field for all of our dealers, and we do care because if we just keep offering that much below map price to one or two dealers, the other dealers are going to be like, you know what, we're going to go with other manufacturers, and that's the end of us with our broad dealer network. So that's roughly a good question for you, or a good answer for you. DN70 1970. Hopefully that answers it, and that is based on actual real-time talk with dealers. Here's a great question. Man, you guys have been great questions tonight. Why do some dealers only have a few of each release? I've seen some have one DC and three DC locomotives, but not the other two DC locomotives. Is it just there's a choice on what they want to sell? Kind of. And that's a great question, Texas Train Fan 56. Sometimes, depending on the size of the dealer, let's say Train World or Spring Creek or Midwest Model or Lombard, those are really big railroad dealers for us. Sometimes they'll see in their neck of the woods certain railroads sell better than others. And sometimes we've even seen, you'll see many times in Athearn Genesis will offer multiple road numbers of the same road. Some people find that the first two road numbers sell better than the second two or the third one. And so a lot of dealers using that as a forecasting method, they will order accordingly. Now, one thing that you can do is if you do go to a hobby shop or if you are online, it's a rather large hobby shop and you think, man, they should have at least two more of these DC versions available, give them a call. Have them talk to their Athearn sales rep because 9 times out of 10, we might actually have those in stock at our distribution center. It's not a guarantee, but it's better to ask and know than not know. Yes, I can't wait to share what's Jason says. I can't wait to see what you guys do in 2025. I'm having a hard time just keeping my lips closed. There's a lot of things that product development's been working on hard, and we're going to see them here in the next few months. Terry's wanting the Desert Storm BN 1991 SD60M again. Yes. Yeah, that's been a while since we've offered that. Charles, our N scale guy, he wants to know any L&N diesel locomotives in N scale in the future. Not right away. When John came on board for product development, it's been close to 3 years now. He is, as a modeler, he's an N scale guy like myself. He was committed to working on some N scale projects. Now I'm trying to market N scale to a broader audience, and John is trying to build some N scale for a broader audience. So we have done some new releases in N scale in the last few years. CA11s is a good example. NSC gondolas is another example. 13K tank cars. I could go on. Right now, we're not working on any locomotive projects because we do have some massive size HO scale releases that are going to be coming out in the next few months into 2025. Once he gets caught up on that, we may start looking at some N scale locomotives. Now, what I need you to do as an N scale guy, keep using our product suggestion email. And another thing is be on the lookout for surveys because that's how the 13K tank car got produced. We sent out a survey to the N scale market and said, what would you like to see produced? And the 13K tank car was the overwhelming choice by our N scale audience. Hence, we've got a brand new freight car. So keep that in mind as the future becomes today. All right. Well, I think we've covered just about everything. We've had some great questions tonight. I want to let you guys get back to working on your layout. It's nice that Train Tuesday now starts when it's dark, so you know that it means it's time to get inside, work on the layout, do some modeling, do some programming, do some great stuff, and you know, hopefully we'll get to see some of you guys at Train Fest here coming right up. That's only about a month away now. So if you're going to be in the Milwaukee area, you're going to want to come to Train Fest. We're going to have a booth there and love to talk to you in person. So, with that, I hope you all have a great evening. Thanks for joining me on this Train Tuesday. Remember, you've got till Friday, October 25th to place your pre orders. There's a lot coming. We still got 2 more weeks worth of Train Tuesdays to talk about. So, until next time, I hope everyone out there be happy, be healthy, be safe. Think of our friends on the southeast part of the United States. And above all, high greens. Take care, everyone.